Hello and welcome back to another video brought to you by Dorkdom Gaming. Today we're going to look into the Nurgle Daemons. We're going to do a complete overview and in-game battle tactics. First we're going to look at the battalions, and then we're going to look at all the war scrolls, and of course we're going to throw in some of our tips and tricks along the way. Today's video is going to be a little different because I have another fellow Dorkdom Gaming member here with me, so let's get started. The first battalion we're going to talk about is the Taliban of Nurgle. Now this battalion costs 100 points. It consists of one Great Unclean One and 6 more units. Those units can be a Plague Bearer hero, Plague Bearers, Beast of Nurgle, Nurglings, or the Plague Drones. Now the ability of this battalion is in each of your hero phases, each model from the Taliban of Nurgle that is within 21 inches of the Great Unclean One heals D3 wounds. You can instead return D3 slain models to each unit of Plague Bearers from the battalion if they're within 21 inches of the Great Unclean One in the hero phase. Increase the number of wounds that can be healed / slain models that can be returned to D6 if the battalion has 14 or more units at the start of the hero phase. Now this battalion is awesome. I mean, you're talking about hard to kill Nurgle models, your Great Unclean Ones healing models, your Great Unclean Ones resurrecting models. You're hard to kill. I mean, this can be a great tactic to take if you had it with a combination of some shooting, maybe some Zeech models that's doing a lot of mortal wounds, or maybe something with a longer reach. So you get in there with those Plague Bearers, you're holding them up, or the Plague Drones, and now you have a model that has a 2-inch reach that's reaching over and just destroying them. So use this in conjunction with either some good shooting or use this in conjunction with some good combat. So definitely a battalion worth taking.
The next battalion we're going to look at today costs 100 points. It's a demon cohort of Nurgle. It consists of one Great Unclean One, a Nurgle Demon Prince, a Herald of Nurgle, 3 units of Plague Bearers, 1 Nurgling, a Beast of Nurgle, or Plague Drones, your choice. It has 2 abilities inside of the battalion. The first one is Rot Glorious Rot. At the beginning of your hero phase, any enemy unit within 1 inch of one of your units on a 6-up takes a mortal wound. Now you don't have to roll for your own unit because your own unit's Nurgle already, so they don't really care. You have Blessing of Nurgle also. What that's going to allow you to do is reroll all failed ones for armor saves and for your ward save. Any failed save. Now looking through this battalion, it might get overlooked easily, but to me, Nurgle is all about holding the line. Nurgle's all about going forward and being that rock, letting the water smash in and it doesn't move. Now you're already doing mortal wounds, so that's an extra hit, and now you get to reroll your failed saves. So you think about Plague Bearers. They have a 5-up armor save and they have a 5-up ward save. So I get to reroll my ones for both. That's pretty good. That's going to keep you there a long time, allow you to do a lot of damage, and allow your other units that you take, whether you're taking Khorne, whether you're taking Zeech, whether you're taking Chaos, or here comes Archaon. It doesn't matter. You're gonna hold them there so the other one can come in and smash them. So it's pretty good for 100 points in my opinion. I think it's not that bad. And hey, everyone loves doing mortal wounds. So what if it's on a 6-up? This one's pretty good.
The first war scroll we're going to talk about is the Plague Bearers of Nergal. They move 4, they have a 5-up save with Bravery 10 and 1 wound. Their melee weapon has a 1-inch range with 1 attack, hits on 4s, wounds on 3s, no Ren 1 damage. Their champion has 2 attacks rather than 1. Their Icon Bearer. Whenever I roll a 1 when I take a Battle Shock test, I regain D6 Plague Bearers. Whenever my enemy takes a Battle Shock test and they roll a 1, they must re-roll it within 6 inches of my banner. They have 2 abilities. The first ability, your opponent must subtract 1 from any hit rolls made in the shooting phase against my Plague Bearers. If I have 20 more Plague Bearers, they must subtract 2 from the shooting attack, and also must subtract 1 from the close combat attacks. Every time I take a wound or a mortal wound on a roll of a 5, I'm going to ignore that wound. Also, whenever my Plague Bearer hero is within 7 inches of my models, I get to reroll all my failed saves of a 1. Also, all my casters know the Summon Plague Bearer spell. It goes off on a 6. It's a 14-inch spell, and as long as I stay outside of 9 inches, I get 10 Plague Bearers. Now, if I happen to roll 11 on the casting roll, I gain 20 Plague Bearers. This model is awesome. I mean, this is your go-to battle line. It's 100 points for 10 models. If you want to spend another 100 points, get 20, you have a ton of great abilities. Minusing 2 to your shooting and minusing 1 from your hit close combat attacks. And if you happen to have a Plague Bearer hero, you're also even more hard to kill. And if you also take your Battle Shock test and you happen to roll your 1, you're getting D6 guys back. This in combination with a couple different battalion, couple different units is actually going to be your go-to battle line.
The next war scroll we're going to talk about Nurglings. At 80 points for unit of 3 to maximum unit size of 12, they have movement 5, 4 wounds, and bravery 10. They have 5 attacks apiece, they hit on 5s, and they wound on 5s, and they do 1 damage. If you're fortunate enough to do any wounds with Nurglings to an enemy model and they are not slain outright, on a roll of 5 or more, that unit will suffer D3 mortal wounds. At the end of the Battle Shock test, if Nurgling model suffers any wounds but is not slain, they immediately regenerate all of their wounds. You also can summon these little guys. Now, on a 6+, you can summon a unit of 3 of them within 14 inches of the caster, but no more than 9 inches from any model. On a roll of 11 more, you can set up 6 Nurglings in the same parameters. Now, these little guys, they're going to hold down people. They're great against going after monsters and stuff like that because they have higher wound count. They're just going to do mortal wounds and mortal wounds. The Plague Bearers are definitely going to be a little bit better, but if you're running a full Nurgle army, you're trying to go with a theme, throwing in some little Nurglings at 80 points for 3 of them, I mean, that's 12 wounds. That's 15 attacks. That's really not bad. And you can summon them if you want to hold some back and just have something to bring in. These guys are a pretty good choice. I'd probably definitely look into them.
The next war scroll we're going to talk about are the Beast of Nurgle. Now they move 5, they have a 5-up save, they have Bravery 10, and they have 6 wounds. They have 2 melee attacks. The first one is a 1-inch range, does d6 attacks, hits on 4s, wounds on 3s, no Ren 1 damage. The regular melee attack has a 2-inch range with 1 attack, hits on 4s, wounds on 3s, no Ren, but does d3 damage. Now Beast of Nurgle can charge in the same turn in which they ran or retreated. Also, after an enemy unit makes a charge move, roll a dice for each of its models that are within 1 inch of the Beast of Nurgle. For each roll of a 6, that model's unit suffers a mortal wound. Also, if you have a Plague Bearer hero within 7 inches of a Beast of Nurgle, whenever they make a roll of a 6 on the wound, it does double damage. Plus, all of your casters know the Summon Beast of Nurgle spell. It goes off on a casting value of a 6. You place a Beast of Nurgle within 14 inches of that caster, but more than 9 inches away from an enemy unit. Now, if you happen to roll 11 or more, you get 3 Beast of Nurgle. Now, this model is actually quite awesome. You have 6 wounds. You have a 5-up save. You have the ability to, whenever you have a Plague Bearer hero within 7 inches, you're doing double damage. So it actually is doing some good damage. You also have the ability of whenever somebody charges you, you're making them take mortal wounds on a roll of a 6. On top of that, you have more tactics. The tactics of being able to retreat and then charge in the next turn and maybe charge something you really wanted to charge to get going. I mean, this unit has the ability to do what you want to. It's only 60 points and you get 1 model. So again, you can have up to 6 of them. So if you wanted all 6, that's 360 points and it's a strong unit. Give this unit a try. The next war score we're going to talk about are the Plague Drones of Nurgle. Now they have an 8-inch move with a 5-up save and Bravery 10 and 5 wounds. They have a missile attack. It's a 14-inch range, 1 attack, hits on 4s, wounds on 3s, no Rend 1 damage. They have 3 close combat attacks. The first one is a 1-inch range with 1 attack, hits on 4s, wounds on 3s, no Rend 1 damage. The next one is a 1-inch attack with 3 attacks, hits on 3s, wounds on 4s, no Rend 1 damage. The last one is a 1-inch attack with 1 attack, hits on 4s, wounds on 3s, -1 to their Rend, and does D3 damage. Now Plague Drones fly. The champion has 2 attacks rather than 1. Whenever you take a Battle Shock test and you roll a 1, you gain back D3 Plague Drones. Also, whenever your enemy unit is within 6 inches of your musician and they roll a 1 for their Battle Shock test, you make them re-roll it. They're hard to kill. Every time you fail your save, you take another save. You have a 5-up save against mortal wounds and regular wounds. Plus, if you have a Plague Bearer hero within 7 inches of your unit and you roll a 6 to wound, you're doing mortal wounds. Also, all your casters know the Summon Plague Drone spell. That's a casting value of a 6, and you get 3 Plague Drones within 14 inches of your caster, but more than 9 inches away from your enemy units. If you happen to roll an 11, you gain 6 Plague Drones. Now, this War Scroll only costs 220 points. This War Scroll's awesome. I mean, it has a shooting attack, it has multiple close combat attacks. They have 5 wounds each model. They're hard to kill. They're gaining D3 models if you take your Battle Shock test and roll a 1. You're making enemies re-roll their Battle Shock test within 6 inches. If you have a Plague Bearer hero within 7 inches, you're doing more mortal wounds. So not only you're hard to kill, you're putting out damage to it. And that's what you want. You want something that does a little bit of everything. And that's what Plague Drones do. So go ahead and give them a shot. Add them to your army. Give them a couple goes and tell me what you think. The next war scroll is a Herald of Nurgle. He has a 4-inch move with the 4-up save with Bravery 10 and 5 wounds. His close combat attack has a 1-inch range with 3 attacks, hits on 4s, wounds on 3s, -1 Rend, and does D3 damage. Every time the Herald suffers a wound or a mortal wound, you ignore it on a 5-up. A Herald of Nurgle heals 1 wound each time a unit is wiped out within 7 inches of him. Your casters know the Summon Herald of Nurgle spell. A casting value of a 5, and you get to place the Herald within 14 inches of the caster, more than 9 inches away from the enemy unit. The War Scroll costs 100 points, and you get 1 Herald. Now, a lot of your War Scrolls depend on having a Herald within 7 inches of them. So this is kind of a must if you're playing a demon-specific army and you want all the benefits of having a Herald of Nurgle within 7 inches of a War Scroll. So give this guy a try. Put him next to your unit. He's great at supporting. He has a 1-inch attack, so make sure he's within 3 inches of the unit, so when somebody charges you, you can bring him up to do his 3 attacks, because they're all doing -1 rend and D3 wounds. So he's a great supporter, a great helper. Give him a shot. Tell me what you think. Next war scroll is Epidemus. He moves 4. He has a 4-up save with bravery, 10 and 7 wounds. He has 2 close combat attacks. The first one is a 1-inch range with 3 attacks, hits on 4s, wounds on 3s, -1 rend and does D3 damage. His next one is a 1-inch range with 5 attacks, hits on 5s, wounds on 5s, no rend, 1 damage. Epidemus is hard to kill. He has a 4-up regular save, and after he fails that, he has another 5-up save against wounds and mortal wounds. Now here's the big thing. Keep a tally of the number of enemy models that have been slain by Nurgle models. At the start of each of your hero phases, you need to check the chart. Now the chart looks like this. If you've killed less than 7, there's no effect. If you've killed 7 models to 13 models, you get to re-roll wound rolls of a 1. If you've killed 14 to 20 models, you get to re-roll hit rolls of 1. If you kill 21 models, you add 1 to the save. All these bonuses are cumulative, but as soon as Epidemus is slain, you lose all the bonuses. But again, folks, this war scroll is only 180 points. This is what gels your whole Nurgle army together. If you're taking a dominant Nurgle army, you should definitely give this guy a shot, because he doesn't just affect demon Nurgle, he affects all Nurgle on the table. Whether it's mortal and demon, it doesn't matter. Being able to reroll rolls of 1, being able to reroll hits of 1, being able to add 1 to your save, can you imagine the tactics, the strategies you can do with this model? Give him a shot and tell me what you think. The next war scroll is the Great Unclean One. He moves 5 inches with a 4-up save, bravery, 10 and 10 wounds. He has a missile attack. It's a 7-inch range, does D6 attacks. It hits on 3s and wounds on 2s. But as you start taking damage, you start wounding on a 3, and from a 3 to a 4, and from a 4 to a 5. But again, it starts at wounding on a 2. It does -2 to your rend and does 1 damage. The Great Unclean One has 2 attacks. The first one is a 2-inch range with 3 attacks, hits on 3s, and wounds on 2. But as you start taking damage, you start wounding on a 3, from a 3 to a 4, but again, it starts at wounding on a 2. It's -1 to your rend and does 2 damage. His next attack is a 2-inch range, and it starts with 3 attacks. But as you start taking damage, it goes from 3 attacks down to 2, and from 2 attacks down to 1. But again, it starts at 3 attacks. It hits on 4s, wounds on 3s, -2 to your rend, and does D3 damage. The Great Unclean One also is hard to kill. Not only does he have a 4-up save, whenever that fails, he has another save, and it's a 5-up save against wounds and mortal wounds. Now, if he happens to roll a 6 when he's taking that save, he actually makes the unit suffer a mortal wound. The Great Unclean One heals D3 wounds each of your hero phases. Now, the command ability for the Great Unclean One is, whenever a Nurgle demon unit rolls a 7 when making a charge, if you scream 7, then your whole unit gets 1 extra attack. The Great Unclean One is also a wizard. The spell he knows is the Plague Wind. It's a casting value of a 7, and you draw a straight line 14 inches away from the Great Unclean One. For every enemy unit it passes through, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. If you decide to draw a straight line through your own Nurgle units, you actually heal D3 wounds. The Great Unclean One also knows the Mystic Shield and the Arcane Bolt. Also, all your casters know the Summon Great Unclean One. It's a casting value of a 9, and you get to place a Great Unclean One 14 inches away from your caster, but outside of 9 inches. This war scroll costs 240 points, and it's so versatile. It has a good shooting attack. It has great close combat. It has the ability of healing. It's hard to kill. And not only is it hard to kill, if you happen to roll a 6 when you're taking your second save, you're doing mortal wounds to your enemy. It has good casting. I mean, the command ability, being able to just have some fun in the game. I mean, this model, you definitely have to give it a shot. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of synergy. I've used them a lot, and he works really, really well. We just did a complete overview of the Demons of Nurgle, and as you all know now, they are a force to be reckoned with. They have some of the most powerful and most resilient models that just won't go away. The best part, in my opinion, with Age of Sigmar is as long as you stay within your faction, the combinations are almost unlimited. I have personally played an all-demon Nurgle army, and for friendly play, it's perfect. As for competitive play, I use plaguebearers for my battle line to capture and hold objectives. As for tactics, I find myself playing a lot of armies that have a turn 1 charge, and I need to protect my squishy / powerful models. So what I do is I create a meat shield of plaguebearers around them, which then makes your opponent rethink his whole battle plan, and as you all know, that is the goal. I really wanted to say thank you to my fellow Dorkdom gamer for helping me create this video, and if you guys like the video, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe for more content. I'll talk to you guys in the next one.